Welcome to Sports Money's coverage of UFC 318. This is First Strike. I've got the boys of summer. Also happen to be the Apex Predators of the Octagon here. Midsummer mark of the season here. MMA Jeff 19, Subhuman Gaucho boys. We got ourselves a pay-per-view card. A lot of talk about this pay-per-view card. A lot of big favorites on this pay-per-view card, incidentally, as well. But before we get there, we will get there. We're going to give you guys three of our early looks to try to cook these books. MMA Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Mike. Thanks for asking. Like you said, there's a lot of talk back and forth on this card. Not quite sure what to make of it, but as we were talking backstage, I think there's going to be some violence. I think we're going to see some finishes. It's going to be a pretty low level UFC card, but I'm excited about it. I think we're going to see some action.
Action indeed. We did see some violence last week out there at UFC Nashville. Lots of KOs. That was a lot of fun. That means a lot of delay, though, in between these fights. But nonetheless, we're back. We're ready to attack. And we've got Subhuman Gaucho here to talk to us as well. Sub, how's your summer treating
you? Pretty darn well for the most part. I had been admittedly slumping for like close to a month now in the UFC bets, which is, unfortunate. I think I have maybe the biggest stain on this show, which was Justin Taffa minus 165. Just a pathetic performance, but looking for a big bounce back here, and you roll with the punches. I'm looking forward to this Louisiana card. I love the big cage run that we've been on, and as Jeff said, I do think we see a lot of violence here. I think it'll be a fun card.
Well, we are 1 week closer to UFC DC. I'm not sure what they're going to call it, but we got 51 or so weeks to go. Can't wait. Countdown is on. But we're here to get after it. I know this is an opportunity for us here to make some big cash. I was pretty psyched up last week. I had a big casher out there with a couple of different spots, but we'll get to this fight here. Let's talk about this first one, Jeff. You've got Michael Johnson, and you've got him taking on Zellhuber. Talk to us about your path to victory.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We're bringing you to the lightweight division. We got the first fight on the main card. This one, surprisingly, I think I say it every week, this one looks even on paper. This one actually doesn't look even on paper, and the odds reflect that. I think it's going to be a little closer than the odds are showing at this point, but we'll see. We got Zellhuber with 3-inch height advantage and almost a 4-inch reach advantage and a whopping 13-year age difference in this one. He's 13 years younger. I can't believe it, but that's how it goes in the UFC. We got Michael Johnson, 39 years old. He's been around the UFC since 2010. He's 15-15. He's 3-2 in his last 5. He's on back-to-back wins. He did pick up performance bonus on that last fight, which he looked pretty solid there. They were both swinging, and he ended up dinging them. So you guys, performance of the night, you can't argue with that. He's a solid overall southpaw fighter. He's decent in pretty much all aspects, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of his grappling, but he's got great cardio. He's got great striking. He's even got good takedown defense. So I think that makes this one a pretty good matchup. You got Zellhuber, 26 years old. He's 17 fights as a pro. He's 15-2 as a pro, and his only 2 losses came in the UFC. He's coming in on this one off a very close split decision against Ribovics back in September, which, in fact, that was actually such a good fight that that one earned fight of the night. He fought Prado the fight before that. That one earned fight of the night. And before that, he ended up getting performance of the night with an anaconda choke. This guy can come out there, and he can do it all. He's a lanky fighter. Now, his only other loss in the UFC was by unanimous decision against Trey Ogden. However, that was his UFC debut. Zellhuber, despite the 3-2 record, is a very good striker. He throws high volume. He throws with some power. He's a tactical striker as well when he needs to be. He's a tough guy. He showed that. Especially in that last fight, he showed he's willing to take some shots, to give some shots. I don't know. That's what makes this one a fun fight, and I think we're going to see a lot of action. I see it spending a lot of time on the feet. Again, both guys with good takedown defense. Zellhuber's got some longer legs, so there is a potential for Johnson to shoot and maybe grab those legs. But Zellhuber's, you see it on the screen there, takedown defense, 94%. You can't argue with that. I'd imagine both guys land some shots. I think Zellhuber's going to end up connecting better and landing the more powerful shots. So I'm going to roll with Daniel Zellhuber by KO. I snagged it at plus 185, so make sure you shop that line around. And Mike's going to bring us to the exciting Ige Pitbull fight. Mike, how are we getting paid?
All right, Jeff, going after the KO finish out there with Zellhuber. I think that's a really good look. We'll see what that looks like when it comes fight night here. Onto a featherweight battle. Patricio Pitbull, Dan Ige, and really, kind of a striker versus a striker matchup, I think, when it comes down to it. We were talking, again, backstage a little bit about kind of some of the pre-looks of this UFC card, and some big favorites and then a couple of dogs. I approached this one really just from a statistics perspective, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second here. But look, both these guys fought in, I believe it was UFC 314. Sean Woodson was the victory in a KO spot for Dan Ige, third round, as a matter of fact. And, on the other side of things, Pitbull had that big up-and-comer from Bellator, now 38 years old. Just 3 months ago was that loss out there. And kind of looking at this one a little bit like the Valter Walker spot last week. I talked a little bit about Walker coming in here and hitting the gym, figuring out that he's a pro and trying to reevaluate the way that he approaches his game and taking it a little bit more serious. I don't know that Pitbull needs to take it any more serious at 38 and a former champion, if that, but he is a former champion. He has fought some of the best, and Bellator, a nice little run while he was at it. I think when it comes down to it, this is a situation where I talk about the numbers. We've got a lot of minus 500s, minus 550s on this card. And traditionally we're going to see maybe 4 to 5 dogs will find a way to get the victory. So I kind of went through a process of elimination. I look at Dan Ige and I think to myself, this guy, he had that fight against UFC Fight Night against Andre Touchy Feely. And that was a fight of the night. We got the bonus in February 2024. Fast forward, he must have been ready to go right away. He goes back out there in June, takes a beatdown against Diego Lopes. A month later, he's going to try to fight Chepe. He was going to try to fight Joe Anderson Brito. Comes back, finally does get a match on the table again, and it's Lerone Murphy that pieces him up. A unanimous decision nonetheless, but wearing some violence out there. My point is, I feel like Dan Ige, if he's fighting somebody that's of significance, they kind of treat him like a gatekeeper. They let him go out there and pound, and they give him a shot. They give him an opportunity, but you're going to wear some damage when you fight this guy. And I mentioned that striker on striker situation. He'll move forward. He's not afraid to go be violent, show you violence, and give you everything he's got. At the same time, I feel like we see that in Pitbull here. And 3 months ago, this guy's legacy essentially is on the line coming into this UFC. I approached it. I said, I'm looking at process of elimination. Which of these dogs has an opportunity? This guy's got the experience. Yeah, he's 38 with a 5-year age differential between the two or so. But I do believe in this case, Pitbull's the spot to be involved with here. The bounce back situation, 3 months after his debut, he had to sit around and deal with that shame. He earned it. On the paper, though, they look similar to the difference of takedown opportunities out there. And I think that's where Dan Ige can make a mistake. I think if he wants to come forward, get physical, what Pitbull will do is match him early. I think what happens is that comes second and third round as we see Ige start to dance around and maybe get a little sweaty. Patricio goes in, shoots for a takedown. Whether he lands it or not, there's going to be some defensive and counter opportunities for Pitbull to put Ige down. I do think this one ends up finding the judge's scorecard, but Patricio Pitbull is the guy I want to get involved with here. And I think this is a good price tag. Plus 185. We'll take some Pitbull, try to get us paid and move on to sub. Talking about, hey, we're back to it. We got the curtain jerker. We got Subhuman Gaucho sub. I can't wait to hear the talk about this fight.
All right. Well, great stuff, boys. I love the picks, man. I think Zellhuber will go due to MJ what is expected, and then I think that's probably a KO. Let us all pray that it's not a sub, because I do think Zellhuber is going to get him out of there one way or another. And good stuff, Mike. I'm glad you can take a stand on that fight. I'm not sure if I will, to be honest, but I'll be rooting for Pitbull for your sake, if nothing else. And where this fight is concerned, oh boy, my goat, Crispy Carly Judice. I think my biggest bet of my maybe entire life was on Judice in her last fight against Dubin. Max bet multiple times, got reverse COV'd, so just kept max betting. We roll, man. Love this woman. Only 26 years old. I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. I think there's a good chance we still see this woman in the UFC in like 2035. Looking into the future here, but taking on, Nicole Cagliari. I have a little bit of trouble like figuring out just what she's about. On the one hand, like I was fairly high on her coming into Contender Series. I had a bunch of money on her there. She has some good qualities. I think she's a pretty good grappler. She's fairly small. Granted, we are at flyweight, but she seems like she could be a strawweight. And I don't want to be too hard on her. She's kind of got one of these fire hydrant builds where she's pretty strong despite being, at a reach and height advantage against virtually everybody, including in this fight, as you see on the screen here. Her best quality, I think, is her grappling. Trouble is, I think that despite being, as I said, kind of like that stocky fire hydrant build, I don't think she's getting Carly Judice down here. And if she doesn't, I think this fight is going to be really one-way traffic on the feet. You see the amount of volume that, it's a small sample size, granted, both in the UFC and more generally when it comes to Crispy Carly. But 10 significant strikes landed per minute is, almost unheard of. And her takedown defense, I think, is pretty darn good. I think in order for Cagliari to get in and take her down, she's probably going to need like a clinch or something. I don't see how she's going to do that because I think it's going to be Cagliari getting backed up more often than not. So, I think Judice is going to roll here. It's not my biggest bet of the year the way it was last year, but I love Carly Judice here. I do think she wins 30-27 pretty easily, but I was pretty close to giving out, a Dutch 2-3 here. I really think that Cagliari slows down quite a lot in the later rounds, and I think that volume from Carly Judice is going to add up. I think that Carly Judice round 3 is extremely live at better than 10-1, regardless of what your book is. I think it's as high as like 13 or 14-1. Carly Judice, huge significant strike. Let me put it this way, a huge volume advantage. She's also very good at just keeping distance and keeping people on the end of her punches. Her defense, if you want to poke holes in her game, not maybe the best. I don't think Cagliari has what it takes to hurt her here. Carly Judice, up and coming. I think at 26 years old, the sky is the limit here. Will she be a champion? I don't know, but she'll certainly be top 15, certainly top 10, I think, and more than likely top 5 by the time her career is over. I'd like to see her get into a better gym, but she's got good training partners. She's been alongside Andrea Lee for quite a long time. And in the meantime, as much as I like to say some kind words about Cagliari, I don't really know where her head is at exactly. I think at this point she's as much a social media vixen as anything else. She's got augmented breasts and lips, and in the meantime, Carly Judice is working on much bigger and better things in this sport, and I think this is going to be pretty one-way traffic. Not worried about the experience disadvantage for the bigger, taller woman that's a much better striker. Give me Carly Judice -3.5, -125. I think it's a great number. I don't mind a sprinkle on the inside the distance in the round 2 and the round 3.
And there it is, the First Strike team checking in with you guys here Wednesday, July the 16th. We're going to be live come Saturday. The big pay-per-view event pops off 6 p.m. On behalf of MMA Jeff, Subhuman Gaucho, give the gentlemen a follow on X. You can see their respective handles. Check us out, Sports Money. Follow the YouTube channel. Turn your notifications on and like and subscribe this video. Let us know your favorite fight. Drop it in the comments, and we'll see you Saturday. Good luck.